The Catcher in the Rye is a great example of courageous American literature. Writers like Salinger, who have no fear in creating a story that does not fit into the traditional and proper style of writing, often make the most impact on society. Um, this novel serves as a relatable and introspective journey for teenagers of the time period it was written and today in a lesser extent. So why was this book so controversial? First, there are obvious features of the novel that many would find offensive. The language used in a novel is, to be blunt, informal and extremely vulgar. There's a whole slew of swear words used, and some are used countless times. Um, I think many people were and are bothered by how many times Holden uses goddamn in the book, with the total reaching upwards of 200 instances. Although I think the controversy reaches farther than just the language used. The activities of the main protagonist, Holden, um, are often things that many disagree with on a moral and religious level. Sometimes Holden commits illegal infractions as a 16-year-old. He's a heavy drinker and smoker. And farther, he has an encounter with a prostitute at one point in this story, which was obviously taboo then and now. Um, Plus, Holden alludes to a flawed view of many subsets of people, such as minorities, the disabled, and especially women. The way he acts and talks to women is very immoral and degrading oftentimes. Maybe this is closer to how males acted in the 40s and 50s. I don't know, but it still is wrong, no matter what. And people will also justify banning the book because John Lennon's assassinator had a copy of the book when caught and alluded to many of the themes of the book as reasons for his behavior. And some will say the book enables this type of odious behavior, however illogical that thought process may be. It fits their bias. The people who most often oppose this novel are authority figures like the government and school officials. From what I understand, many teachers want to use the book in their classrooms, but often are ordered not to include it in the curriculum. So, why do these people hate the novel? I suspect that authority figures believe that Holden is a bad model for children to follow in their own lives. They fear that kids will take the book too literally and act immorally due to Holden's actions in the book. I think authority figures are severely underevaluating the youth's ability to read between the lines. The youth can learn a lot from this book, so it's a sort of shame that people have fought to ban it and to keep it banned um, for the since it was written. I'm of the thought process that no piece of literature should be banned because there's unlimited value in the knowledge that people can acquire in text. But I digress. For your second question, these two books are often compared to each other for good reason. The two books being The Catcher in the Rye and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Um, the central characters in the two stories share many similarities beyond just their age range. While the setting is in different areas of America and in dramatically different time periods, the two boys are both experiencing an awakening of sorts in pursuit of maturation and self identity. Um, Huck Finn and Holden are both outcasts in their societies because they conform to their own ideologies above all other belief systems. These boys are grappling with the morality of man and are struggling to understand why the world is the way that it is in their time periods. Many people view these boys as rebels or immoral because they do not fit into society, but morality is not defined by society. So that's a flawed belief. Clearly, one can see that these boys are good people who have an instinct for doing the consciously right action. For example, Huck does not turn in his slave friend, even though society would tell him that he should. And Holden is friendly to the outcasts and values honesty and truth. And what it boils down to is that these two protagonists are having their veil of ignorance lifted, a destruction of innocence that comes with maturing and gaining knowledge. Um, it's a hard thing to go through, but it's necessary to further your intellect and ability as a human being. Uh, these two are dreamers. These boys are searching for a greater truth above hypocritical human constructs such as religion or the legal system. They're holding out for something more and refuse to settle for merely good enough. Um, and that's how they are similar. There's so many reasons they're similar. And that's what makes these books similar. Yet there are subtle but noticeable differences between these two books. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is focused on religion and moral dilemmas in the context of slavery. And The Catcher in the Rye is a story centered around the human predisposition towards skepticism and cynicism. This idea makes sense in the context of an American society that was extremely paranoid of communists in the 40s and 50s, with the Cold War going on at the time. These settings for the two stories are relevant to the time period in which the books were written, but remain timeless in a way too. Um, Holden is a character that leans towards a more jaded and darker future full of uncertainty. The book doesn't end on a very clear note. Huck is a boy full of curiosity and shows a level of trust that Holden does not possess. Huck Finn is developing towards a more optimistic future, acquiring a strong, enlightened moral identity. Um, while I do believe that these two characters and the books they inhabit serve similar purposes for American society, Holden does not represent a modern Huck Finn to me. These two boys are going through similar time periods in their lives in times of uncertainty in America, but they do not share the same ideologies. I think it would be unfair to Huck Finn to call Holden a successor of him. I love Holden, but some of the activities he does would not align with Huck's beliefs and moral identity. I just do not think a modern Huck would resemble Holden. Huck comes from a poor and innocent, almost ignorant background. Holden was born into money and exposed to reality very early in his life. This led him to a darker view of the world in general. Huck has more hope for the future. Maybe this means that modern realities destroy the hope of developing children. I just do not want to believe that is the truth because there's already too much cynicism in this world. So that's why I don't think these two characters are exactly representations of each other. They have their differences, but the books do share similar goals that they're trying to reach. So I understand the comparison between the two characters and the two books.